If you want to learn how to make a ton of gold in Season 10, then this video is for you. Currently on this character, I have just under gold cap, right around 972k, and in Season 10 alone, after just the first week or so, I made about half a million gold. In today's video, I'm going to be highlighting how I exactly did that, and we're going to jump right into it and start by talking about the trading post. I make most of my money from the trading post, and I'm going to show you a few examples of how. Let's say we take a look at an item like the armor matrix. We can see that currently they are being sold for 10.5k. Essentially, that means that any player in the game can jump online and buy an armor matrix from the player that posted it at that cost for that value. Or you can basically create a buy order where you are basically requesting to buy an item for a specific price. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and create a buy order here for just a little bit higher than the previous highest buy order in hopes that someone will actually sell their item to me. In this example, I could potentially buy this item for 9.5k and then resell it for 10.5k and make a 1,000 gold profit. Now, if you do this at scale and also across multiple different items, like a weapon matrix now, for example, you could try to figure out what the largest gaps are between the selling price and the current buy orders and try to buy low and sell high. It sounds simple, but realistically, that's the way to do it. In some cases, you can actually take a look at certain materials that you think are going to be popular and go ahead and jump ahead and buy those materials before people actually start realizing it and trying to purchase those. It's all about supply and demand. For example, these rune glass casings require a handful of ingredients like ancient globs, a few glyph stones, sulfur, and charged sand. Currently, my opinion is that a lot of people are still trying to figure out what gear they actually want, so they haven't even gotten to the point where they want to drop in the specific gems. With that being said, there's a good chance that if I try to purchase a lot of these ingredients you need to create these rune glass casings, I can make a profit in like a week or two. Again, a lot of this is risk versus reward. Sometimes you can make guesses here and it just doesn't work out, and sometimes it does. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and place some buy orders on some of these ingredients. Ancient globs, there's actually a really good farming spot that I'm going to be highlighting later on in this video. But let's go ahead and look at sulfur, for example. So right now, 40.06 is the current highest buy order. Honestly, I mean, people are not a huge fan of this, but the best way to do it is really just one up the previous buy order. When people are trying to sell these different ingredients and materials, they're going to sell it at the current highest price. I don't want to spend more money, so I'm just going to basically do a little bit higher to make sure I'm at the top of the list in case people are trying to sell them. You can see the difference there too in price. Realistically, if I buy these at the current price of 40.07 and then resell it at 46.97 or so, I'm looking at like 8 to 10k profit. So that could be good. And again, I have a feeling that down the road, the demand for this might increase. The other thing I really want to call out is just understanding how to make sought after items. For example, the launch of Season 10 introduced some brand new perk charms, and people are going crazy over these. So if you jump over to the outfitting station, you can take a look at what the actual key ingredients are when crafting these. If you do plan on crafting these though, do not even look at these top layered ones. You'll see the number 100 next to them. If you keep scrolling, you're going to see 205, and essentially you can craft the same item for half the resources. So make sure you do that. But essentially we see that there's a handful of these different charm dust items that you want, runic void stone, chromatic seals, which cost around 2,000 gold each, and then some golden apples. Again, I'm just using this as an example of what you should do to kind of find sweet spots in the market to make quick gold. What you're going to want to do is actually look at the actual ingredients you needed to craft that item. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking a look at how much the total cost would be for me to craft one enchanted ward charm, for example. So I'm taking a look at all the ingredients. I know that chromatic seals cost me 2k gold as well from the faction vendor. I'm taking a look at the price of golden apples, and it's like 900. And honestly, like if you do all the math between how much I have to invest into it based on how much I can sell this specific charm for, it's pretty close. I still would make a profit, especially if I craft it with the optimized recipe at 205 armoring instead of like crafting at those ingredients that we kind of looked at previously. But long story short, you basically have to do the math in your head to figure out, is it worth crafting and then selling the item after I craft it? Is it worth just throwing some buy orders up there for the actual piece itself, or maybe the materials in order for me to craft the piece? There's lots of different kind of like math routes you can take to determine the optimized amount of profit when it comes to flipping things on the trading post. Again, this is probably the number one way on how I make gold in New World. It really just comes down to supply and demand. Can you buy low, sell high certain hot items, and determine the best timing to actually sell them? Again, a lot of players tend to play on the weekends, right? So maybe if you buy items for cheaper during the week, you can even flip them for a little bit higher during the weekend. So keep that in mind as well. And just to show you this madness actually kind of works, here's a closer look at my completed buy orders tab over the last few days. For example, I ended up buying 6 armor matrices for 6.5k each. If you take a closer look now at the current price of these, they're at 10.2k each. So that's like 3.5, almost a 4k profit per matrix, which is 16k gold. So again, if you do this a handful of different ways in larger quantities, you have the potential to make a ton of gold. Sure, there's some risk to it, but there's also extreme rewards if you kind of play in a few different areas, right? You can see I have a ton of different things going on here. I know tons and tons of people are doing chest runs, so I'm trying to buy these perk charm dust pieces for dirt cheap because I'm guessing people are going to stop doing chest runs down the road, and then those prices might go up. Again, it's just a long shot. I have the money, so sometimes I like to take a gamble and invest in some things. Here's a sneak peek of my storage in one of my towns. As you can tell, I have a very big collection going on. I actually have a handful of some decent charms in here too from other buy orders I had. So I might just go ahead and try to sell them too, because I think they're at kind of like a high point at this point. So I'm going to just sell those for some even more gold. Let's say you don't want to take that risk when it comes to buy orders to make some quick gold. There's still a handful of different ways you can still make easy gold in Season 10 with zero risk. For example, I mentioned these ancient globs previously on how they're going to be a key ingredient to craft rune glass casings. With that being said, I know that the demand for these items are going to stick around for a while. Currently, there's a very, very easy farm where you can just sit and farm these out. I mean, I already got 48 of these and I've been here for less than an hour. I am running a full luck set. I don't think it really impacts it when it comes to this specific item though, but hey, if it makes you feel better, go ahead and run luck. Just to show you on the map, I'm in Brimstone Sands and just south of that shrine right there, and more specifically at this castrum point of interest. If you ever see X Glob, this is exactly what they mean. You can just get tons and tons of these very, very quickly and sell them for almost 200 gold each. At least that's what they're worth currently on my server. Next up, I know you guys knew it was coming, but I do have to do a call out for elite chest runs. These are by far 100% worth doing, even more so in Season 10. Not only will it give you some potential of getting some really good gear in general, especially with all the perk changes that came in Season 10, but it will also give you a chance of actually getting some of these perk gems. Some of these perk gems, like we saw previously in this video, go for like 6, 7k gold. I mean, I just got one right there. The trick though is that if you are going to do elite chest runs, keep in mind two things. Luck will actually impact your chances of getting these different perk charms. So you do want to run a full luck set if possible. You also want to keep in mind that depending on where you are doing your chest run, there is a small chance that you can actually get infix perks on certain items. Since loot is loot biased based on the equipment that you have basically equipped to your character as you're looting these chests, you will want to keep that in mind and try to make sure that you equip weapons that you actually want improvements for, as well as certain pieces of gear. Like if I typically play in light, try to have the right light combination for that specific armor weight. If I'm trying to get best in slot, like medium gear or heavy gear, then make sure that your luck gear actually matches what you want. Just because, again, because of the loot biasness, and it will just increase your chances of actually getting certain items that you're actually going to be able to use down the road. Because remember, like gear wise, all of this is buying on pickup, so you can't sell, but you can get trophy pieces, these perk charms, and a handful of other goodies that you can quickly sell for some very, very good and fast gold. Here's some example of some of the infix perks. There's a handful of certain points of interest that have a higher chance of actually dropping these. If you check out New World Database, you can learn a little bit more about these because there are a ton of them. So keep that in mind as well. I also want to call out that soul trials are actually worth doing now. Previously, these were not really worth doing, but they can actually now become a great way to actually make some quick gold. So for those of you who are new to soul trials, these are basically one-on-one mini fights where you have a certain challenge, you take down a foe, and then once you defeat it, you get a quick reward. Usually these rewards are just awful, but now in season 10, there is a slight chance of actually getting different perk charms. And again, these perk charms, some of them are going upwards of like 6 to 10,000 gold each. So if you get lucky, you can actually get one of these pieces. Again, these are not hard to do. These soul trials will take you like 2 or 3 minutes typically. As long as you're like level 70, you'll just easily beat these. The weapons are honestly awful. I mean, I'll showcase some of the items I actually got from this one. But again, you have a small chance of getting perk charms. So, hey, shoot your shot. Maybe you'll get lucky. The other thing worth calling out is that there are now chase items in Season 10 of New World. So, in other words, there are a handful of unique bosses or named mobs in this game that currently have a chance of dropping very, very rare cosmetic pieces. So, for example, I'm at the Arcanus, which is a named mob at the new Nighthaven zone at the far left side of the map. He spawns once every 25 minutes or so and has a very low chance of dropping a small piece of a new cosmetic set. Again, it's very, very sought after because these are actually bind on equipped items. So people will likely drop hundreds of thousands of gold, and in some cases, even 1,000,000 gold. I mean, we also know that there is a ghost turkey mount and a ghost horse mount that has a less than a 1% chance of dropping from the new Isle of Night raid as well. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of these chase items, you 100% are going to be sitting on some very, very easy and good gold. Again, you can do this one basically whenever you're just multitasking and doing something else. The other ones regarding like the new raid will require some work, but it's worth grinding out because maybe you'll get lucky, get a rare cosmetic piece, and just sell it for tons of gold. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, consider giving it a like and subscribe, or even letting me know how you make gold in New World. So let me know in the comments below, and thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.